When we're talking about refugees, that would qualify, like a Christian in Syria.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely, of course.
Yeah, and I would agree.
Or-
Christians in Syria.
Yeah, they need help.
They need help, right? Yeah. No one's helped them, by the way.
Yeah, I'm aware.
Yeah. Well, how are you aware?
Because I do keep up a little bit with that. I mostly keep up with, like, as a Jew, keep up with the Jewish situation in the Middle East and their immigration problems.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you're aware that walls work?
America is number one. You serve your country. This is, like, we need to protect our own. But I also
don't say anything about America number one. I just think that a nation needs borders.
Security. Yeah, I
we
totally
need to know
understand
who's
where you're
here.
coming from with that.
Do
But
you disagree with that?
no, I agree with that.
Okay, good.
I understand where you're coming from that.
Yeah.
I just think the idea that a wall will protect that is not exactly the most meaningful way of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more of a band-aid to a much greater problem that's our immigration system currently.
Okay.
Because it's extremely difficult to immigrate if you come from Mexico, and it's extremely difficult to get refugee status and seek asylum in the U.S. So even though, because the big problem is our southern border. Our southern border is the problem. No one's like, oh no, we need a Canadian border. Like, no one's afraid of.
You know why that is?
Get out of here, because they don't have as much high crime rate. It's not as violent.
No, we don't have a problem of illegal immigration from Canada here. Yeah.
But I think a big part, you mentioned some numbers earlier, I couldn't really hear because I was standing behind.
Sure.
About how people get here. Most people do not cross the border physically on foot. Like, that's not the main way. Most people overstay their visas, they come here on planes.
That's not true.
Okay, what were your numbers to support that?
About 42% are overstayed visas.
Okay. And the other...
The rest, cross the border illegally.
Okay,
Enter illegally,
what are the
not on the books.
demographics of those people? Do you know?
I couldn't care less.
Okay.
Why does that matter?
I think the biggest part for that would be the refugee status, people that are seeking asylum,
Okay.
and that they are just so desperate that they don't have a choice.
Okay. Are you aware what classifies
You
refugee
have to be
status?
fearing for your life, correct?
No.
Okay, what is it?
You have to be demonstrably oppressed, typically under a regime who are systematically oppressing you for your faith or race or creed. And if you look at international law, it's the nearest nation that could possibly accept refugees is required to under those laws, none of which would apply, of course, to Mexico
to, like,
or
cartel victims and stuff like that. Okay.
No.
I see what you're saying.
No.
Yeah.
No, not like cartel victims. No.
Yeah. So they would not apply for visa for that.
No, they wouldn't qualify as a refugee status, and certainly not a caravan coming from Honduras because they live in a bad country.
So what do we currently have in place? As far as I understand, we have a fence. It is a small fence. It does not cover the entire border.
Yeah, there's about 700-800 miles of border that are completely unprotected.
And why are they unprotected?
Due to inactive politicians for a long time who haven't enforced the laws that we have in the book and haven't erected the fence, wall, whatever you want to call it,
Okay.
as it was supposed to be.
Do you...
And by the way, I want to make sure that you really understand, it's not just about the wall. I've supported all the other comprehensive forms of immigration. But let me ask you this. Do we both agree that we need to enforce... we need to know who's here legally?
Yeah.
Okay. And do we both agree that we need strong borders as a country? Okay.
Just execution, I think, is where we differ.
Okay, execution is where we differ. Because you were saying asylum seekers, and you were kind of talking about which, these people are not...
Who we should let in, and, like,
Right.
I definitely agree that they should come through legally, but when push comes to pull, I can totally understand where they're coming from. I just don't think that those are the people that will be kept out from the wall. Or those will be the people that are kept out from the wall. The people that we're trying to keep out won't be.
So you think that
I don't think
refugees, asylum seekers will be kept out? Is that
I
what
think
you're
those
saying?
would be the more likely just because they're so weak. The people that are most strong would be the cartels.
So would you mean like Christians in Syria? Is that what you'd be talking about?
More or less. I mean, not specifically them because there's no wall to protect or against them.
Right, well that's a big problem. We don't, we're a big country and we're not necessarily just protected by the ocean and a very small border.
Yeah.
But when we're talking about refugees, that would qualify. Like a Christian in Syria.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely, of course.
Yeah, and I would agree.
Or-
Christians in Syria.
Yeah, they need help.
They need help, right. Yeah. No one's helped them, by the way.
Yeah, I'm aware.
Yeah. Well, how are you aware?
Because I do keep up a little bit with that. I mostly keep up with, like, as a Jew, keep up with the Jewish situation in the Middle East and their immigration problems.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you're aware that walls work?
More or less, yes. And that
Israel erected a wall and eliminated 99% of illegal immigration. But I was curious, how are you aware that, and this isn't a gotcha, that specifically Christian refugees haven't been taken in? Because plenty of refugees have been taken in.
Yeah, they're the most targeted minority in Syria right now, are they not?
Yes.
Yeah, because it's a Muslim majority country.
Right.
Yeah.
But less than 1% of the refugees accepted were Christian.
Really? Interesting, I did not know that.
Yeah, they would be asylum seekers, they would be refugees because you're burned in a cage if you're a Christian.
Yeah.
And I would agree in taking those people in. But isn't it a little bit odd that less than, some people have the number as under 0.5% of the refugees who were taken in were Christians?
I did not know that.
Mainly, war-aged Muslim males were taken in.
Interesting. I don't think that would be that shouldn't be who we're aiming to like save if they're...
Well, they'd be the refugees, is my point.
Yeah.
Not someone in a Honduran caravan. So how do we disagree on execution? How would you agree that we need to enforce our current immigration laws? You agree that we need a strong border?
I think that our immigration system is very, very weak in that it's not staffed enough. There's not enough money going to immigration to take, because it's backed up like years and years, and it's very difficult to immigrate here legally. So if you are in a bind, say your uncle is about to get murdered by the Mexican drug cartels, you're desperate and you look at this situation that you don't have the ability to come here on your own, or at least they have the thought process that they can't because it's so difficult and there's no like fast way to do it. I think we definitely need to navigate, instead of putting so much funding into a wall, like I can understand a fence, that's fine. Like the $20 billion wall is where it's pushing it.
Why? I don't understand the difference between a fence and a wall. The problem is one is racist and one is, well, okay, it's still a drop in the bucket, and a fence is not that much cheaper, by the way.
How much is the difference, do you know?
Well, the most generous estimates have a wall at about $20 billion, and really right now what they're talking about is $5 billion being allotted, which Democrats have already agreed to 1 point something billion. Forgive my rounding errors here.
I understand.
And of course they supported building some kind of a barrier across the 800 miles of the work for a very long time. So why not just build the most effective barrier possible? But if we just said, okay, like Donald Trump, a barrier can be partially fenced, partially walled, depending on the topography. You okay with that?
I think so. I just think that the I think the emphasis shouldn't be on the wall. I think it should be maybe, I can understand like peace of mind. I totally get that. There's a fence between me and the bad guys. That's fine. But I think we should, instead of putting all of the money, the $20 billion or the $5 billion or the 1.6 whatever.
Well, it's not all the money. It's very, very little. Our annual budget is $4 trillion.
Yeah, it's huge.
So $5 billion is.
But I think by doing that, we're neglecting the fact that we do have a broken system for immigration.
Yeah.
That we do need to support.
But the plan is actually to start enforcing those laws that haven't been enforced.
Okay.
That's a big part of the comprehensive plan that Donald Trump is putting forward. In fact, enforcing laws that were put on the books from Barack Obama. So it seems to me like you would support a wall, a barrier, a fence, if it's, let's say, a hybrid wall, fence, whatever works. If we also crack down on those overstayed visas, if we deported people who are here illegally.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, good.
Okay, so we're on the same page on that aspect. But I think that the conversation isn't about immigration anymore. It's about, or not the immigration system. It's about keep the bad guys out. They're gonna come get us and they're gonna steal our women and rape everyone.
Well, that's a part of the immigration problem, is keeping people out.
But
that's the biggest issue, of course. That's the only way to stop it.
Is that the biggest issue, or is that the most scary issue? Because I think the most, depending on how much fear you can bring into the people, depends on how much they'll care about this aspect.
This is kind of what I've talked about before, a reverse nirvana fallacy, where you say, well, something needs to be done. We need some kind of a barrier. We need to enforce the laws that we have. We need to deport people who are here illegally. But because it's created some sort of ethnocentrism among some people, I really haven't seen it. I've never met a Republican who says the wall needs to keep brown people out. I've seen people who just say we need to stop the problem of illegal immigration, especially because it's costing $100+ billion to the taxpayer. Where do we disagree? It seems like as far as solutions, you would do all of those things. You just maybe don't like the messaging which the media has kind of put out there.
Definitely the fear-mongering is a problem for me among the media, and then I think what's going on with the government right now with the government shutdown is extremely childish. I think compromise is what this country was founded on, and we definitely need to make a compromise to this.
Yeah. Who would you hold responsible for not making a compromise right now?
I think they're both equally responsible, honestly.
That's fair. That's fair.
Like, I don't agree with Donald Trump for saying, yeah, that's fine, and then totally turning around like 3 days later and being like, we're shutting the government down, this is over. But also I see the Democrats aren't entirely in the right.
They're against something that they supported when it was Barack Obama. They were for a wall and comprehensive immigration reform until it was Donald Trump. And now he's even made some compromises, right? He said, okay, we'll extend DACA 3 years right now while we solve this problem so that we can get the government rolling again.
Yeah, I think that the just stubborn headbutting in the government right now is absolutely ridiculous.
But if he's made some compromises and they've said no compromise at all.
They are also in the wrong. Yes.
Yeah, I would say, I think maybe we disagree, but I would argue they're more responsible after these concessions have been made.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from.
So I guess my issue is, it doesn't seem like we disagree on policy at all.
No, we disagree on what needs to be done.
Okay, so what do you think needs to be done? Forgive me, I'm
Yeah, you're fine. Sorry, let me just check real quick. I pass it one. So, just final thoughts if you don't mind.
No problem.
I think we should, instead of putting all this money into the wall, I think we should put it into our immigration system to try and better the method by which people get here legally, because right now the system is very clunky, very long. It's strenuous. There's not staffed enough, not enough money going in. I think we need to take care of getting people here legally, and then the illegal stuff, stop making it such a fear-mongering event of.
Oh, I think that's emotion. We're talking about we do need to stop illegal immigration, right?
Yes, but I think the fear-mongering needs to go away. I think we need to talk about facts. I like your numbers. I think it's very important to have numbers.
Here's a number that you might consider fear-mongering. Illegal immigrants commit crime disproportionately.
Okay.
So it's completely accurate to say that it's a much tougher pill to swallow, too, by the way, if someone rapes or kills, and they have no business being in this country in the first place. If that were your sister or your mother, or, I don't know, your brother by a cartel being shut up, you'd probably feel like, man, that guy had no business being here in the first place, and we haven't done anything. Sure, we should fix the broken system right now as far as work visas are being overstayed. People will always break the law. But you're saying we shouldn't be spending all this money. It's a drop in the bucket. We are talking about a very small amount of money to stop the people coming here illegally.
I would be totally fine
so that then at that point we can fix the current system and see who's on the books.
Okay.
One can't happen without the other.
I think I would be more okay with the wall if we took the money from, say, something that's like defense. We have a ton of money going into defense. If we were to take money, put in more money allotted to immigration, then I think I would be more okay with the wall and more spending money on a wall and less of a like fence.
Okay.
But
what about taking it from the welfare programs that we have?
I don't agree with that. I think welfare is important.
You think it's more important than national defense?
As someone who benefits from it, yes. But I am a biased opinion.
That is a biased opinion.
Extremely
Do you
so.
think that welfare is a legitimate role of government compared to national defense?
I can see why other people don't think it is, but I personally think it is. I think it's very important for a government to take care of its citizens.
Constitutionally,
it's probably
can you make an argument that national defense
No, I think
is less
that's a
important
moral
than
thing.
welfare? Okay, so it's a
That's
moral
my
thing.
moral thing.
Well, you also understand that adds to the great problem that we have with illegal immigration, right?
Yeah.
The reason I say that is, okay,
They're benefiting from the welfare.
They're benefiting from the welfare state in a way that hurts American taxpayers. Both American taxpayers who are using welfare and not using welfare, by the way.
Exactly.
And I think that's a big difference a lot of people don't touch on when we talk about being a nation of immigrants, which I appreciate you didn't bring up, by the way, because a lot of people say we're a nation of immigrants. I think we both delineate, we both are willing to acknowledge legal immigration and illegal immigration. They were migrating here legally when there was no welfare state. But right now you have people who can enter here completely illegally and they're enticed to do so because of a welfare state.
Okay.
So I think if we're going to take money from anything, not take it from a completely legitimate role of government, which is national defense. You could argue that a border is actually a significant part of national defense, as it were.
I think that would be a good
take it from the welfare state that is enticing them, that is attracting them to begin with, and put that into the wall.
But you're also hurting that legal Americans that have been here and benefit from it and need it just to get by, stuff like that.
Well, they're being hurt more by people coming here illegally, being a burden on the taxpayers.
But if we were to take it from the defense, then like you said, it is a national defense thing. So instead of putting it directly into the army, take it and put it in immigration and border security.
Okay. So you're fiscal conservative.
No.
Well, then, what does it matter if we're talking about $5 billion for a wall? You're saying, well, we have to. It sounds to me like you just want to take money from national defense.
No. But I think.
Then who cares if we spend $5 billion on a wall? If you're not a fiscal conservative, we spend. That's a drop in the bucket compared to the welfare program.
Okay, then maybe I am a fiscal conservative.
Okay, fiscal conservative who's pro-welfare.
Yes.
Okay, so some of those things are a little tough to juxtapose.
Yeah.
I think we found some common ground here.
I think we did. This has been a great discussion.
You came in. You seemed like you were a little bit hot-headed, like you thought this was going to be a little more hostile. Okay, all right.
Watch Louder with Crowder live Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern.